Okay, so earlier today we learned how to make a glitter plastic Christmas ornament. Of course, it works on glass too, but at my house and my body, I can't have glass, so I've done it on plastic ornaments. And I'm Jamie Mayfield, and what I did here was I got out the 54 cylinder auto knitter. I've been making ornaments on the 60 cylinder. And so I thought, well, let's see what'll happen if we do it on the 54. Well, the first thing I did to make the star lace ornament was I took every other needle out. So that leaves us with 27 needles. And you can't do every other needle like you do on the regular 60 cylinder for the star lace. So here's what I compromised with, and what I'm doing is I'm just making 3 rows, and I had to move my light out of the way so that you guys could see better. And so my yarn was running through my light, and I'm running low on yarn, and I didn't want to cut my yarn and start over, so there you go. So this right here, we're going to say this pink needle is needle number 1. So we're going to raise every third needle. Now, don't make it so hard on yourself. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3. Well, 1, 2, 3. We're going to raise every third needle. 1, 2, 3 and raise. 1, 2, 3 and raise. 1, 2, 3 and raise. 1, 2. Now, I can't raise on that side because I have to crank forward. So let's continue raising every third needle. Okay, so now I have 2 needles in between the raised needles. And we're going to count or crank 3 rows. Okay, and that one didn't knit, but I'm not really that concerned because in the end you're not going to be able to see it. This is what's important. You're going to lower this needle when you push it down. Don't push it all the way down. And raise the one next to it. Now, it doesn't matter which one you raise, like which side, just do the same all the way around. So lower that needle, make sure the latch is open, and raise the next needle. Okay? Let's see, I can't lower this one because my V-cam's in the way. So let's crank forward and continue lowering and raising. And I'll still have 2 needles in between. Okay, we're going to go 3 rows. So now pay attention here. This one has gone 3 rows, but this one has not. So this is my first needle. I'm going to lower it and raise it. Lower and raise. The first needle moves every time you lower and raise. Okay, now I have to crank to over here. And then I can continue lowering and raising. And I still have 2 needles in between every one. Now for the tension I have set up here, I'm going to go about 35 rows in pattern. I cranked 3 rows, started my pattern, and I'm going to crank to about 35 rows. It could be 34 or it could be 36. Alright, so this one has 3 wraps, but this one has 2. So this is our first needle now. That's why I had to do this one with the camera totally in my way, so that you guys could see. I make all these sacrifices just for you. Huh. And that one, and we'll raise this one. Now, I am guessing that I don't have pull down pressure because my yarn is not feeding into the machine proper, and that's why that keeps not knitting. But I'm not really that concerned because when the ornament's finished, you're not going to be able to tell. Alright? And that's exactly what's happening. So this is 3, but whoop, it's not supposed to be 3. It's all messed up over there. Of course, you guys are watching, so that is how it gets all messed up. Okay. Continue lowering and raising, lowering and raising. This is a good exercise in making sure your latches are open because it isn't fun to try to fix a stitch when you're doing this star pattern or the tuck stitch. Maybe if I slow down a little bit, all those stitches will knit. What's happening is my yarn's not coming in freely. Okay, so it's 3 on this one, but 2 on this one. So now this is my first needle. Remember, we started out with this being our first needle, but it keeps moving because of the pattern that we're doing. Now I have to crank to this side. It seems to help if I slow down a little bit. So we're going to lower and raise, lower and raise, lower and raise. Let's see, lower. We got off somehow. So we're going to have to raise this one. Oh, we still have to lower and raise this one, remember? Because that was our first needle this time. Okay, now let me slow down here. I try to do it so fast because I don't want you guys to get bored. Now there's no written instruction. Now look here, there's 2 tucks and there's 3 tucks on this one. So this is now our first needle. There's no written instruction on how to do this, so if you want a pattern, you can take notes, and then you'll have your own pattern in words that you understand. Okay, now I gotta keep going. I'm gonna go a little slower so that, now remember this one has to be lowered and raised. We're still working in our pattern, and it kind of gets confused. But this is the 1, 2, 3, 4th one I've made, so I'm a little less confused than I was. Of course, when I was making those other ones, I had a light on. Okay, now this has 2 wraps and this has 3, so we're going to lower and raise, starting with this one as our first needle. Raise, okay. Get our yarn carrier over there so we can lower and raise the rest of the needles. Okay, now that one has wrapped 3 times, so we're going to lower and raise. Not too many more. Alright, so there's our first needle this time. I have to get my yarn carrier over here so I can, there we go, raise that one, lower and raise. Okay, you would think I'd be tired of making Christmas ornaments by now, but I'm not. So there you go. Okay, so now this needle, where that one was the first one, now this one is our first one. Lower, raise, lower, raise, lower, raise. Let's see, where am I? Lower, no. That one's raised, now lower this one, raise this one. Go far enough, did I? Okay, raise, lower, raise. Now I fitted this old auto knitter with a yarn carrier from Dave Lord at Chambord, and it just makes it work so nicely. Alright, now that was row 34, so what I'm going to do is, whoops, I don't want to do it on that one because it only has 2 wraps. I'm going to end my pattern right here. Okay. Now it has 3 wraps, and as soon as I get my yarn carrier organized and over far enough, I can lower that needle as well. Then I'm going to crank about 3 rows. And I'm going to end this ornament. So once I end it, I can do this real quick. Maybe you'll see something this time. Okay, I'm going to end on this needle right here. Okay. Get my waste yarn in here. When you're working with every other needle and you take something off the machine, it is so easy to run stitches. So I always do extra rows because you're only using half the yarn, right? So I'm going to back that up, and I have to open this latch so that both yarns knit in this needle right here. Tuck my tail down in there. It's probably a little excessive on the tail. Conserve yarn. Now when you take this off of the machine, grab up in there and hold it while you crank off and get all those stitches loose so that you don't run any stitches down into the project. And so here's what your lace looks like. And I took the liberty of doing one on, this one is still wet, so I didn't put the thing back on, but that's what it would look like on the glitter ornament. I like it on the 54 because it has a lot of space in between. This is how it would look on an ornament that has not been glittered. Still very, very beautiful. I'm going to have the prettiest Christmas tree this year, y'all. Thanks for joining me on CSM Supplies.com.